Our message today is in 1 Samuel chapter 4, starting at verse 1. This is all about making assumptions with God. That's 1 Samuel chapter 4, starting at verse 1. It says there, and the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Now Israel went out against the Philistines to battle, and pitched beside Ebenezer, and the Philistines pitched in Aphek. So they each had their camp. Verse 2, and the Philistines put themselves in array against Israel, and when they joined battle, Israel was smitten before the Philistines, and they slew of the army in the field about 4,000 men. So the Philistines slew 4,000, or killed 4,000 people of Israel. You know, our natural assumption is because we're Christians, when we have a problem, that we're just naturally going to come out on top. Doesn't always work like that, as we've all discovered. Now, because we're Christians, we think that we have something special. It is something special, but it doesn't necessarily give us an edge in this life. Doesn't mean that we're going to get everything we wanted. So they went to battle. Now, I didn't see here that Samuel necessarily told them to go to battle, but let's assume he did. They lost 4,000 men. Not an easy thing. And it's easy to think, well, I'm a Christian, so I should win. Well, everybody else saved their life. Verse 3, and when the people were come into the camp, the elders of Israel said, wherefore hath the Lord smitten us today before the Philistines? So they're asking the same question everybody. Why? Why has this happened? Why me? Why today? Why did this happen? But then they make a leap, and they say, let us fetch the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of Shiloh unto us, that when it cometh among us, that we may save us, it may save us out of the hand of our enemies. So now I'm thinking, we have a trump card. We got something the Philistines don't have. We have the Ark of the Covenant. And now the Ark of the Covenant is going to save us. Even though we lost the first time around, we don't know why, we don't care. We got the Ark, we know it will be successful. And where is that written? God didn't tell them that, they just had this idea. Well, if we have the Ark of the Covenant, it's never been captured before, so we're trusting it's not going to be captured, and we're trusting that when it's among us, then we will have a victory. So let's see what happens with this assumption. And you know, people do that all the time. It's like, well, I failed, but that's okay, because it's next time around I'm going to win. On what basis do you make that assertion? Verse 4, so the people sent to Shiloh, that they might bring from thence the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. When the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again. So they let up this big shout. Now you got to ask yourself, what are they shouting about? We're going to see in a minute. You'd think, well, they'd be shouting because the Ark of the Covenant represented the presence of God. On the top of the Ark of the Covenant, there were two angels, and between there was like a ball of light or fire, which represented the Spirit of God. So you would have thought they would have been excited about that. Well, we have the presence of God with us now. No, that wasn't it. Because they lost even bigger the next time around. It's all about making assumptions. So, God didn't tell them to get the Ark of the Covenant. They just decided, well, it's with us. We have to win. Ace up their sleeves. They got it this time. They got it, sure. Verse 6. When the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, what meaneth the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? Now that's a lot of noise to be heard all over into the camp of the Philistines. They're really making a big noise. And they, the Philistines, understood that the ark of the Lord was come into the camp. Oh boy. Verse 7, and the Philistines were afraid. Why? For they said, God is come into the camp. And they said, woe unto us, for there hath not been such a thing heretofore. He said, this never happened before. We're in deep trouble. Verse 8, woe unto us, this is the Philistines speaking, who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty gods? They don't even recognize one God. This is one God, the mighty gods of the Jews. These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. Well, they got a little bit confused there. The plagues were right in Egypt. It wasn't in the wilderness, but anyway. And then they say something interesting, verse 9. Be strong and quit yourselves like men, O ye Philistines, that you be not servants unto the Hebrews, as they have been unto you. Quit yourselves like men and fight. So they're looking at this situation and saying, well, this is like dirty pool. They're not playing by the rules. But it's okay. We're going to fight like men. We're going to take them on. We beat them the last time, and who says we can't beat them again? And, you know, this is the way the world works, right? It's like, okay, we lost last time, doesn't mean we can't win the next time. Verse 10, and the Philistines fought with Israel, and Israel was smitten, and they fled every man to his tent, and there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 footmen. And the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were slain. Okay, so Israel made this assumption, and we can see right here, when the big shout came in, they weren't shouting about the presence of God, they were shouting about what they thought was a surefire victory, because they had the ark. And God said, oh, not so fast. You're making a bad assumption here. Just because I might be in your presence doesn't mean that it gives you everything that you want. And it's the same for us as Christians. You know, lots of Christians say, well, you know, I'll go to church here every Sunday as long as you give me what I want. New house, spouse, maybe a new car, whatever it is. And it's like, well, you might be making that deal with God, but is God making that deal with you? Did you hear a voice from heaven saying, yeah, I'll sign up for that? So God isn't really good at co-signing deals. He doesn't do co-signing. If he wants to do something, he'll tell you about what he wants to do, and then you can get with his program. But he never gets with our program, because our program is always less than what he wants to do.
Amen.
So the first time around, 4,000 got killed, and this time around, 30,000 got killed. Now, 7.5 times as many people got killed this time. It's like, so the presence of God in their presence, the presence of God in the presence of the Israelites didn't do them any good in terms of the battle. They didn't get what they wanted, and the ark was taken. It's interesting because the ark by itself, when it went into the cities of the Philistines, not only destroyed their idols, you can read on further later if you want, it not only destroyed their idols, but it actually brought sickness on the Philistines so badly that they actually loaded it up and sent the ark back to Israel. It's like, we don't want anything to do with this. They didn't destroy it, they just sent it back. We don't want anything to do with this. This isn't doing us any good. Point being, it's easy to make assumptions and to make deals with God. Oh God, I'll do this for you, and then you give me X. Never works. Unless he gives you that deal, your deal is worth nothing. He doesn't co-sign. He's not a co-signer. It's like when you think, what can you give him that he doesn't already have?
Right.
Nothing. He's got all the goodies. So when you're asking him for something, he's already got it. And you're going to give him what that he needs? What do you possibly have to give him that he needs? Single-handedly, the ark itself destroyed the idols of the Philistines and then killed off a whole bunch of them without any help from Israel. He brought a mighty destruction amongst the Philistines, so much so that they sent the ark back. It's like, We can't handle this. No good for us. So what makes you and I think that we can cut a deal with God? There's no deal to be cut. The only thing we need to do is to get into his presence. Once we get into his presence, he gets us on the straight and narrow. Once we get on the straight and narrow, he can and he will bless you and I. Whatever your situation is right now, it's everything that you can handle from God. God wants to bless you. There's nothing too good for a believer. I'm going to repeat that. There's nothing too good for a believer for God to give them. Why? Because it all belongs to him anyway. Do you think he's really got a problem taking it from the unrighteous and giving it to you? The answer is no. So then why doesn't he do it? Because you can't handle it. You look at all these people involved in sports and in music in particular. You see so many of them have train wrecks for life. For life. Their marriages are on the rocks, their children are gone bad, they're on drugs, they go broke. And it's like, how's all that happen? God didn't listen. The Bible itself says, the blessing of the Lord maketh rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. That is, the blessing when you get it is a blessing. It's a true blessing, and it doesn't just disappear after 3 days. The blessing of God stays with you. So you want the blessing of God? Just get with his program. It's not what we do, it's about who we are. It's not about what you do for him. You can't do anything for God that he can't do better. It's about who you are to God. He values you as a person, not for what you can do for him. He doesn't need us to do anything for him. I'm going to repeat that. He doesn't need us to do anything for him. He just needs us to be closer to him. So as parents, what does he expect from us? Raise our kids as Christians. Do as much as we can for them in a Christian context, to know God and to know the Word. Because the Word is God, Jesus Christ. He said that himself. He said, I'm the Word. Anyway, and it said the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It's Jesus in the first chapter of John, the Gospel of John. He said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. So what does he expect from us is, as parents, to raise our children in the way. And apart from that, he expects us to serve him and to know who he is. Because in the process of doing that, he can and he will bless us. Not for what we work for. He blesses us way past what we work for. There are people in this congregation today that have jobs that they naturally shouldn't even have. They're making money, way more money than what they really are entitled to based on their education. Why? Because of the life that they have with Jesus, the relationship they have with Jesus. And if God does that to one in this congregation, he can do it to everyone. Are you prepared to do that, to serve him, get yourself out of the way? That's really what it is. It's a big problem there. I'm my biggest problem. Because I want what I want, and it's like, and that's got nothing to do with God. I want what I want. And that's what the message today is all about. It's like, hey, is it about what I want or what God wants? Do I call on God when I have a need? They never did. You read through this, it's like, we went through the Word. They never called on God for victory. They never called on God to say, what should I do? They never asked God, will this work if we bring up the ark? They just made assumptions. Well, we bring it up, he's going to give us victory. Yeah? And why is that? We're not entitled to get whatever we want just because we want it. It doesn't work like that. But as you get closer to God, closer to him in terms of knowing him, he'll make sure he changes what you want so that the things that you want are good for you spiritually. And then he will satisfy those wants. He will give you the good things that you're asking for. Because that's how God works. He wants to bless you. So he'll change you to be more like him, and then he will bless you with the things that he puts in your heart to want. Simple like that. No big deal. And that is my message for today.